I've had the wrong perspective on life, and it was very much take. In sales, it's, you're told just you're out there for yourself, and creating that abundance starts to shorten when you're just constantly taking and taking. I think we should move away from penalising people that use, because there might be an underlying issue, with the person that is drinking or taking drugs.
Hello, welcome, Paul Clark of HSE Global and HSE Network. So Paul has a successful events and publishing company within the health and safety industry. His company is HSE Global and HSE Network. It's an international company and has gone from strength to strength. Paul has battled with addiction for 15 years and is now 1 year clean. I'm going to do a quick fire round with you.
Go on then.
So absolutely zero thinking.
Okay.
Just a simple
Clear my
answer.
mind. Shall I do a bit of meditation prior?
Yes, get in the
Okay,
zone.
I'll get zened.
Are you
Hit
ready?
me, yeah, far away.
Events or networking?
Events.
Business or career?
Business.
Public speaking or director?
Oh, it's a tough one. Public speaking.
UK or New Orleans?
New Orleans.
Employ or outsource?
Outsource.
Money or chilled life?
Oh.
No thinking.
Oh, money. Although I don't want to say that.
There is the man.
Oh, it's a fine one. I'm moving from money to chilled life. I'm in between, but we'll take money.
Yes, well,
Money's all right.
hopefully being free from the drugs is helping with it.
Yeah, well, it's got a bit more money.
Money and chilled life.
More
now.
time to do things. Yeah.
Right, so let's start from the beginning. First of all, it's a good place to start. What made you get into health and safety awareness?
Yeah. So I'm a salesman by trade. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm a farrier by trade.
What's a farrier?
But putting shoes on horses. Don't even ask.
Random.
Probably where the drugs stem from, because I didn't enjoy my life very much doing that. No, so I was a salesman. I worked in events management from about the age of 21, and we would sell all different types of industry events. So anything from construction, utilities. My first actual event was power and energy. Asia Pacific power and energy, that's mad. So my section was selling hovercrafts. I mean, it was very bizarre.
This is very niche.
Very niche, very niche. So yeah, I did all sorts of different types of advertising, publishing, event sales, and then through that sort of a really good 11-year career, towards the end of it, I actually started doing a health and safety event for my old employer, and I really enjoyed it. I probably didn't have the dharma of knowing the reason behind why I wanted to get into safety, but there was something that was drawing me to that industry, which I was really passionate about. Came away, started my own business, actually just doing sales consulting, contract sales, recruitment, bit of this, bit of that. I wrote a book actually called Building Sales Warriors, which was published and did very well. And then realized that there's hundreds of salespeople out there, and although my personality was cutting a niche, I wasn't really sort of fulfilled. And then remembered, it was always in the back of my mind about safety as an event, and my want to really sort of make a difference in the events world and health and safety. The beauty of health and safety is that my sort of dharma with it being a deeply spiritual man is that we're able to generally help bring peace in people's lives, be able to bring peace to the people that are affected by workplace incidents and fatalities, but also just keeping people safe and healthy and well. And I think there's an opportunity, I wouldn't be in this if I didn't, but there's an opportunity for us to create engagement. I'm all about personality. I'm all about bringing people together in the right place at the right time. And so I wanted to create bespoke events, which are for, we see very much the trade event industry is a bit worn out, a bit tired. How do we cut through and create cutting edge, really bespoke content events that can help senior leaders come forward, the people that are responsible for direction and strategy? How do we get these guys to come forward and engage with each other? You've got one person dealing with multiple different projects that need the right answers. Health and safety is non-competitive, safety is holistic. Everybody has to manage safety as a process, as a function, as a sector within their business. if I'm, trying to, if I come back to, my challenges with addiction and alcoholism and obsessive compulsive behavior, I knew that unless I got help from other people, self-will alone, trying to deal with my own problems wasn't enough. So with health and safety, 50 to 100 key decision makers in one room, you can change worlds. I generally believe we can reduce incidents, save lives, and break through the current plateau in safety and health. So it's a long-winded answer, but I talk a lot. I wanted to create. I wanted to be in an industry that can make a difference. I want to be in an industry that I can leave a legacy for my children and make the world a safer and better place.
And that's some good foundations to go on and start your own company for sure. In your quick fire round that we just did, you said business over career. Obviously, being a businessman, you're naturally going to say that. However, you had a very long career previous to the business. So what drove you from having a well-established, successful career into then taking the jump to business?
Yeah. I guess you always have this feeling, I expect you're very much the same, when you're employed, that you have a lot to give. And you know it's just a part of your journey. A career is just, getting you from A to B. I'm trying to get people to lose the word job, or work. It's just something we do with our time. And I'm really grateful for the experiences that I had at my old employer. It was, it's fantastic. Some good, some bad, but that's life. For me, it was about, I wanted to establish something that could make a difference, and I felt like the thing is, when you're working in a job function, really you're only sufficing, you might be providing a service or a product or an event, you're working for a company that's making a difference to other people, but I didn't really have the opportunity to put my own identity and stamp on that. And I'm a very creative person. I like to think I'm a very creative person. I wanted to put my energy, my efforts, my skills, everybody has their own type of unique skills as a human being. I wanted to put those skills into a business which was a reflection of me. And that's what I like to think HSE Global Series, HSE Network, all the companies. I've got multiple businesses. I'm just about to start a car sales business for learner drivers. All these things have a stamp of personality, have a realness, a rawness, a oneness that's going to help hopefully change people's lives and give them a service that's going to help them rectify their challenges and their needs and their problems.
Why are you so passionate about that? Helping people, like you say a lot, obviously I know Paul, disclaimer, quite well, and you say a lot to me that you've got this passion for saving lives, you've got this passion for helping people, you always want to be doing something, well, it's obviously making money, but you have got this real passion for helping people and for saving lives. Where does this stem from?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Is this therapy?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I might have to hire you as my therapist, Michaela. It's a really good question, in all honesty, and the reason being, when you lose everything, right? When you think, I've had the wrong perspective on life from a very young age to now, and it was very much take. Everything was for me. In sales, it's, you're told, like, just you're out there for yourself, and creating that abundance starts to shorten when you're just constantly taking, in terms of how much money you take, not giving back to society, not giving back to communities, not giving, because, I'm a big believer in karma, and what you give, you get in return. That's how abundance works. That's how the wheel of life works. So I got to the point, and certainly, in my own personal challenges, to the point where I hit a rock bottom, where I lost everything. I lost my wife, I lost my children. I'm very lucky to have kept my business going, just by hook or by crook. It kept going, but I wasn't there, and it got to the point where I took for so long that I just ran out. I saw a Swami, actually, who taught me meditation and mindfulness down in Penzance when I went on a retreat, and it was at the height of my using and the worst time of my life. And she taught me. She said to me straight out, and she'd never met me. She didn't even know my name, and she just said, "You've taken all you can from this world. You're not going to be able to take any more." it's time to give back. So from that point on, everything that's happened in my life has led to this point. So I'm a big believer that everything that's happened I don't regret, because it's led me to where I am. But everything that I do now, it has to encompass a way of being able to give back to the world, which I've taken so much from. And if I can do that, I don't need anything else. I have everything that I want in my health and well-being.
So what obviously a lot of your struggles have all come down to you being an addict. What led you to this point? Was this before you started the business? You was already an addict? Was it after you started? What drove you to this? And then how did you cope being an addict, starting a business, working, functioning, being a dad and a husband? Obviously at some point it's come crashing down, hence the change in you now, but how did it develop?
Going through life was just pretty much a struggle. You know, I was always told by people, family members, I was the man that had everything. You know, there's nothing worse than looking outside in at other people and craving what they have. But, you know, I had a wonderful home life relationship. I had a business. You know, I had a lot going for me. But that self-realization, and the problem with being an addict is and being a Leo, apparently I saw a medium, and apparently all I want is more, and I'm craving the next experience, which is absolutely bang on. And that's never going to change, and I'm proud of the person that I am. But my obsessive, so addiction is drugs and alcohol and pornography, sex addiction I've had, you know, all these things were just to take me away from the present moment. It was to get me out of dealing with life on life's terms. That's what addiction is. So, you know, if you talk to somebody that doesn't suffer with obsessive compulsive behavior, they look at you like you got four heads. My challenge was I throw too much into life. I want things that I don't really want because I'm craving for the present moment to be different from what it is. And that's what addiction is. Obsessive compulsive behavior. It's constantly nothing is never enough for me. So it's the first thing for me was realization, realizing that I have challenges with that. It's a disease. It's a problem that is in my DNA, and I have to learn how to arrest that in order to live my life and be full with my life, and realize I don't actually need anything to be okay, to be happy, and trying to move away from the fact that everything is enough. I don't need anything else for that to change. But in business, in terms of trying to manage, you know, 5 days a week between Monday and Friday, I would be working to provide a better life for my family, to be able to have a bigger house, bigger car. My wants and needs were incorrect. I don't need a bigger car. I don't need a bigger house. I don't need to be able to have loads and loads of riches in order for my family to love me. So that realization was incredibly important. But in my lifestyle, Monday to Friday, I'd be okay. It was when the weekend came and I'd hit the pub at 5 o'clock and then I'd go missing for 2 days. You know, because that was my out from this real world that I just thought was just fucking hard work. You know, it was hard work. I could not understand. For me, it was I was convinced this world is about get up in the morning, go to work, try and be successful, try and make shit tons of money, and then go to sleep and do it again each day. My children, I wasn't a father. I was not a father, and I'm proud to say that because my relationship with my children has never been better. My relationship with my wife has never been better. But my business, I'm lucky to have it. I am lucky to still have it because I was never here. And when I was here, I'm the kind of guy as an entrepreneur that has a certain level of talents, and a typical entrepreneur, I've got ideas coming in every 30 seconds. But I'm good enough when I was not on my best game to be able to pull it off. Yeah. But now I'm able to fly with it because I'm not off my head. Makes a difference.
Really helps.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So what was the point of you realizing like everything's gone to shit here, like, and realizing like, so I think a lot of people in general, not just business owners, not just entrepreneurs, but a lot of people think that like you said, getting a bigger house, a bigger car, more money, better holidays, all these things are actually what's going to make you happy. Whereas I was like that for a long time. Whereas when you take a step back and think, actually, I'm just happy to chill with my kids and read a book, that makes me is equally as happy as going out getting paralytic and then dying for 2 days following it. I'm old, so I get like 2-3 day hangovers. And I think naturally that comes with a lot of people with age. At some point, you're like, actually, I'm going to accept that I'm satisfied with what I've got. Now, if you're an addict, I guess that takes a little bit longer to have that dawning moment.
Yeah, I mean, so I coach people. You know, because of the things that I've learned and the things I study and the work that I do. You know, I've got an Onion mental health group where I support thousands of people. I've got the Spirit Junkie from where I'm trying to get out and support corporate businesses, because the problem is, you know, without getting too deep, is, you know, we've conceptualized and created a world that unfortunately is consumer driven. You know, we're all just buyers and sellers, you know, and that unfortunately puts a lot of pressure. We're not made for that. Surely we go, I still think it's bizarre. We all go about our day-to-day world with actually questioning why the fuck we're here. You know, I think it's mental, you know, and I was that person. I just went with it, you know. I'll go through life, I'll do my best, I'll get by, I'll make a living, I'll either get rich or I won't, or I'll die trying, all that kind of crap, and then I'll die and then that's it. And you know, what we forget is all that riches, all this stuff that we accumulate, the minute we die, we don't take it with us, it's gone. You know, you might leave a legacy for your children, but I'd rather my legacy be my dad made a difference to this world in terms he really supported people wake up, you know, and what I'm trying to achieve and what I'm trying to go about doing for people out there is just kind of waking up to the fact that stuff, work, all of it, life isn't as complicated as the mind makes out to be. That's the game changer. Stopping drugs and alcohol wasn't the issue. Actually, I had to change me. I had to change me as a human being. I had to wake up to the fact that all this is bullshit. A lot of it is, you know, everything that I've got in terms of actual physical matter is just bollocks. What really matters is the underlying stuff, the feeling that you have when you're reading a story with your son. That is, we take that for granted. And I'm not saying you have to go back and read a book every night. You might decide you don't want to, you might do that. But that moment of clarity, that moment of connected oneness between you and your son, and that love is all there is, to state the Beatles. Did the Beatles do that song? Love is all there is. I'm sure it is. But it's true though. In those moments of clarity, I had a moment on the plane to Lanzarote, and I'm safe. I've not got COVID, hopefully. But I had a moment with my son and my daughter because they were just all excited to go away, and I actually started crying, because we were on the plane and they were just all over me. They were excited, and that moment was more than anything in my life in terms of what I could do artificially, synthetically, in order to make that happen. That's the problem with addiction. We're all craving something more sacred, right? We're all craving something more sacred. We're craving pleasures all the time because we're not actually all right with how things truly are. And that is a journey of waking up. If you really want to find out what life is all about, if you really want to become the person you've always wanted to become and always meant to be, it's about finding those moments, seizing those moments, and realizing how we can elongate those to be there all the time. Yeah. And then you start to realize that all these things around us, TVs, cameras, everything around us everything is conceptual. It's all a man-made construct. And if we can get past that, sorry, I'm waffling on.
No.
If we can get past that, if we can return home.
I think you made a valid point. The one being that where you say you can't take it with you, obviously, maybe a bit of a cliche, but I think it's important for us to check ourselves on a daily basis and remember that whenever we do die, or if you've had parents or loved ones who have passed away, you don't think, oh God, do you remember when he drove that Porsche? You don't think that. You think, oh, do you remember when he made me feel like this, when he would always make his eggs in this particular way? Or do you remember when they would make me feel like this because we did this together? You never remember, oh, that was a lovely diamond ring. It was a shame she got buried with it. It just isn't in our nature. And I think you are bang on the money when you say we're searching for something to enhance that current moment. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs go through this. You're seeking the money, you have some kind of trauma, you're trying to get rid of something, you're trying to prove something, and you're seeking something instantly. And there is so much availability to that instant fix, what you want, that then your life ends up actually going down the path it shouldn't. Whereas if you can just appreciate the smaller things.
It's all a journey. It's all to challenge us to become better. And that's been the biggest thing for me during COVID, is that I worry that people are going to miss the boat. You got the people that sat at home moaning about the situation, well, this, and blaming the government. I don't like the government necessarily. I don't think our construct of government and democracy is set up correctly. But I ain't going to go and change it on my own. The one thing I can do is be compassion, kind, and I can live my life in the right manner and the right way. And I've got a perfectly good way to have not lived my life as an example, so that I can move forward.
I think as well, though, what you're saying is when you cannot control the situation, and again, cliche, but you can control your reaction to it. So if your reaction previously, whatever it may have been, for you being an addict, my reaction to things, even by allowing things to get me super stressed, or by then wanting to drink wine instead of actually focused on working through the problem, dealing with controlling your reaction to situations is going to get you to where you want to be a lot faster. And I think when a person like yourself who has been through a bit and you've had that experience and you've learnt yourself, then when these dilemmas come up of COVID, I have done the same as you, not been an addict, but I have had traumas. I've worked on myself. I think the companies who are going to suffer who are led by people who have never experienced any kind of real difficulties and don't know themselves how they will get through this, so therefore can't lead the team in the right direction with it.
Yeah, you're bang on. The thing with the other thing as well is that we take things, we drink, we act out in a loving way, sometimes in a nasty way, to get a reaction to change the way that we feel at the time. You know, we're immediately, if I feel sad, I want to feel good. You know, so what can I change? What can I do in the immediate, in the present moment to change how I feel? That's all well and good, but there are techniques, there are tricks, there are ways. There's things that you can learn through spiritualism, through meditation, through mindfulness. You know, some of these ancient archaic principles have changed my life because I'm able to deal with things. I'm willing to accept, shit hasn't gone great at times, but I accept it's all part of my experience. Then it's leading somewhere. The universe is exactly as it should be, and it's leading to a better tomorrow. I've got to accept the moment as it is. Me going and changing the situation, or steering it in a different way, is only taking me on a path which is going to take me longer to get to the place that I want to go. So that's the problem. And believe me, this isn't me trying to say, right, alcohol, you shouldn't be drinking it, or I'm not asking people to not to, or I wouldn't ever dare, because some people can do it and their life doesn't change. But there are some people, and I say there's quite a large majority, but it's weird that we don't talk about it more often because people are afraid to step forward. That's also why I do this, is because I want those people that are struggling to be able to come forward confidently, to know that there are other ways. There is another way of life. And some people can do it, but I can't take that risk. If I put anything in me that's going to change my consciousness and my perception immediately, and if it's synthetic or it's something, whether it's just, watching pornography, acting out from a sex addiction point of view, taking drugs, alcohol, all these things, I do not know where I'm going to end up consciously in the next 2 days, even if it's just an immediate and I don't disappear for 48 hours. I don't know what the next hour is going to bring. I need to be conscious in my choices. And I think everybody should be. And some people as well who are conscious in their choices, they just don't realize they're being conscious in their choices. If they wake up to the fact that they're conscious in their choices, they're going to see a better return in their lifestyle.
Yeah, that's it. I think I am fully aware now of the level of alcohol that I can drink. So again, I am not an addict, but I do have an addictive personality, I think. And again, I think a lot of entrepreneurs do. I don't know why it is, but you do see this similarity across all the people you meet. But I know my limits, and that has been brought into under the magnifying glass since I had my first son, when I was like, all right, yeah, I cannot actually be dying for days on end. Like, I need to get home and get to bed, and I've got to be now in bed at a certain hour. So I do make conscious decisions, but I do like having a drink, but I can control myself still off it. But again, it's by making the conscious decisions, because, and every now and again, there are times when I just cannot be asked and I cannot be bothered thinking about it, and I will just go out, and I'll get in at stupid o'clock, and I will hate myself all week for it. And I think as long as you understand that, then, and it's not going to lead to somewhere else, then that isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. But I do appreciate that not drinking at all would probably lead to a much happier and easier life as well, because you're not going to have these laws like on a Monday morning. And just before we started the podcast, you were saying something interesting, which is within the construction industry, the industry where we both work, there's the most addictions amongst young men in any other industry.
There's the most used cases in construction, I believe, as reported from the Health and Safety Executive, which I've been told it's a very stressful. I don't work in construction, but I've got friends that do, and of course I've got clients that do. It's a very stressful industry. It's long hours, sometimes awkward hours. Some people are working through the night, right? So, it's difficult to manage. We're moving away from. I think we should move away from penalising people that use, because there might be an underlying issue. With the person that is drinking or taking drugs or whatever in the workplace. It needs to be managed, but I was taught...
But how can that be managed? If I have somebody working for me who is like addicted to cocaine, not fulfilling the job, I'm paying them a fortune, and I'm not some huge corporation, or even if you are a huge corporation, why should you pay somebody to not do a job? I agree you should support them, but should they not then be put on the sick while they're being supported? Or what would be your advice to employers for that?
I could give you a spiritual answer or a business answer, really, because from a business answer, I'd be the same as you. I'd be like, well, why am I doing? I've had it. I've been frustrated where people have come in or not come in for work. I was that guy. I used to not show up all the time, so I know what it's like being that person. So it's easy for me to now say, I have a bit of a split personality with it. Yes, there has to be discipline, it has to be managed, but there's the second, is the great man told me that everybody's kind of on their own journey with life, right? Some people are having serious challenges with it and not quite there yet. They're not willing to ask for help. My 3-stage process in anything that I do to teach people, if you've got something that you're unhappy with in your lifestyle, is number one, you need to ask yourself, do I have a problem? Do I generally have a problem here? And you've got to be super honest. And if you can say yes, and if it's affecting your work, it's affecting your family life, it's affecting your health, and you have a problem, if you can answer yes, then number 2 would be, am I genuinely willing to do everything I have to do to change it? And that's really important, because I get loads of people that are stuck on stage 1 and are not willing to kind of put recovery first. That's the thing. Even in front of my kids, I have to, because everything else doesn't fall into place. I have to put my recovery, but have everything else. Otherwise, everything else doesn't fit. So are you willing to change? And I mean, change your life considerably in order to gain recovery? And if so, then number 3 is ask for help. I would not have got the information and the skills and the lifestyle that I have now if I hadn't attended NA fellowship, and I'm still part of the fellowship. I still attend meetings, I still do service, I speak at meetings, and I do the 12-step recovery process. It works, it generally works. But I would rather have had a fight with a gorilla than gone to a meeting back when I was using. That was the problem. I had to get past that point. So there's only so much you can do. You can, again, as somebody that, I don't sponsor anyone, but as somebody that's part of the fellowship, is that I have to incentivize people to come to NA. I need to make it welcome for them that there is another way. The challenge that you have is generally you can only present it to somebody. It's up to them whether they take it.
You can, even if you choose, like, all right, I'm going to support them through this, we're going to stick with them. I understand the issues that they've got, which I would always try and be understanding of anybody who comes in with, if they're failing at work, like what is actually going on here. But you are going to get to the point of, I have given you all the help I've got. And I believe this is the case for most addicts, although I don't have direct experience in it. It is only when they hit rock bottom that then they decide to change everything. So is propping them up with a job and an income and funding this actually helping them? Are you helping them as an employer if they are not if they're not making these decisions themselves? Or are you not better to say, you cannot have a job, I'm not going to fund this, and when you are sorted, then come back?
You're absolutely bang on. I've got first-hand experience in this, where I've got because of my incisiveness to want to give back, which I've learnt recently, I need to hone in, because I can't change the world. I'm only one guy. And certainly within my business, I have people that have struggled with different things, maybe not drugs and alcohol. And I've had to, I've done what I can to the point where I'm pushing. You've got to remember, you're kind of interfering with their own experience if you're not making tough choices for them. Yeah. It's the right choice for you, Michaela, to have gone, if in the situation, hypothetically, you were in that situation, you have to let them go, because maybe it's part of their journey that they need to go, shit, I've just lost my job because of this. Is that the warning sign?
Then maybe that's
the wake up call.
Maybe that is the point that they need of losing everything. I experienced it in a previous relationship where I was the crutch for somebody for several years who turned out to be an addict, and I had no fucking idea for half the time, to be honest.
You won't.
And then it was only when everything had disappeared, and the job loss and the family loss and everything else come crashing down, and I stopped. Even when we separated, I was still perhaps enabling this to an extent in just being nice and supportive. I think I enabled this to continue, and since then we don't have any kind of relationship whatsoever, and he's kind of turned he hates me, and everything that happened was all my fault. And you know what, part of it probably was my fault, and I accept that. In my mind, as this person, I was trying to support them, and I think actually looking back, I made everything a lot worse, because they had the support still, and it was only when it was completely cut off that then they've stopped and gone, fucking hell, like, now I've got to change. So and that's when you're talking about a partnership where you really know somebody inside out. So as an employer to an employee, like, how can you deal with that? There's only so much help, there's only so many steps you can take to assist them, and if there's never going to be a change, are you better to rip off the band-aid and
How long's a piece of string, though, right? It's such a tough one. And I'm trying to change my mindset to, my deal with a higher power is that my giving back, because I didn't have anybody around me like if I was me looking at me now, if there was an alter ego of me that was doing drugs and going through all this pain, and I couldn't step forward to my brother, my mother, my father, or didn't know about NA, I was scared to go and attend meetings or get any kind of social help. I never had anybody like me around that I could reach out to for support. Look, how have you gained this? That's why I'm so public about what I do, is because I won't be able to cure everybody, and you are going to, unfortunately, in this world, people are going to, there's from NA, it's jails, institutions, or death. That's the only three. That's the only way it's going to go. If you're using, drinking, and you're not doing 1, 2, and 3, and trying to work a step program, or some people don't even use 12 steps. Some people are able to stop after. I know people that come into NA that I've never seen again that still don't use.
Yeah.
So everybody's journey is different. I think don't get hung up on it. It's a global issue, epidemic in itself. The fact that people have problems with drugs, alcohol. It's not a problem with drugs and alcohol. The problem is actually with yourself. It's being too attached to what is, again, without going too far, too deep, is being too attached to what is somebody told me once that the whole of life is just one big magic trick. You just don't realize you're the magician, right? So everything in terms of what we're experiencing, it's not real. And when you start to believe that and you start to learn that, the weight starts to trickle off you quickly. And
I think that is the issue. I think a lot of people carry a lot of weight from, it can be what I might perceive it as the smallest of things, what is really, really bothering somebody else, and vice versa. But people carry this weight, whether it's a trauma or these issues, this ego, this whatever it is that they've got. And I think the moment that you start letting go of all this and really stop caring and acknowledging what is important in life and to you, then the easier your life is going to get, and the easier it is to stop all of the bullshit that you're involved with. Now, you as now an ex-addict or recovering addict.
Recovering addict.
Then,
still an addict, always an addict.
Then how, what advice, 2 questions. What advice would you give to yourself as an addict, and what advice would you give to yourself as a business person? If you could go
Hypothetically.
back. Yes.
What would I give to myself as an addict? I just keep, do you know what the big thing for me is? Just looking for signs. I'll give you as an example. When you were on Apprentice, there was, I was immediately drawn to the way that you were on that show. I thought you would definitely, don't tell your husband, Harrison. Don't tell him that you were the one that stood out for me and my wife in terms of the way that you approach. Then on LinkedIn we connected, and then we kept in touch. And then you thought I was just hammering you with emails, but now we're working together. I notice it, constantly being aware of signs. That's been the key for me. You know, in everything that has led me to this point is because I've been awake to certain people, experiences that have guided me to my higher self and best action. And my advice to me as an addict is to keep doing what I'm doing, and actually don't put so much pressure on myself, you know, in terms of, you know, everything happens for a reason, and everything is leading somewhere. Everything is experience. If I had it all right, like for example, you coming in and consulting us on stuff with our website, but I actually quickly let it go. Whereas before, I'd probably dwell on that for 24 hours, probably be in the pub afterwards going, oh, I've let myself down. Yeah, I would, because
it's pressure on yourself to be like super great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
to
just
know everything. When I think as soon as you start realizing as a business owner you do not know everything, the easier your life is going to get, because then you're going to start saying, I'm delegating this, I don't know this, you are far better equipped than me, and I am really good at delegating, which is why I have so much free time.
That's it, yeah. But you know, that with you is, I knew for a fact, now looking back, I didn't at the time when you were on The Apprentice, I was just watching the show, but there was something we were drawn to you, and we're really blessed to have you working with us. We're really excited about the things that you've brought to the table. Unconsciously,
Thanks, Pam.
yeah, no worries.
Plug.
Get in touch with Michaela if you want
Design
some
and build.
marketing support. But in all those things, the one blessing in life which is exciting is every day you come into contact with people and you have experiences that are going to guide you to bigger and better things. And that's the one thing I would say to my addict self, is that as a business person is kind of just to go with it, really. You know, just go with it. I've been in positions, especially when I was using, where if I wasn't meant to have my business or wasn't meant to be here doing the things that I do, I would have lost it. The same as my wife, you know, she went through hell with the things that I did. And unlike your ex, we stood by each other. There was something connected between us. Yeah. There was some energy that was keeping us together. There was something reason. And now I know why. Because we've never been better for each other. And I didn't know that. I didn't believe it. Now I know. So all these things, it's just to kind of just go with it. Live life on life's terms. It's not as serious as the mind makes out to be. You know?
Yeah, I think that's good advice as well for anybody who would be struggling themselves in either of those ways. Now, Paul, can you tell us, we know about your history, we know about your job, what you're doing. Can you tell us what your next steps are now? You've got this international networking events company. Where'd you go from here?
The events themselves, I mean, they are what they are. They're ever evolving. The health and safety industry is something we're really passionate about. We want to pick up more on our charity. We've got a charity called the HSE Global Series Foundation, which we donate 5% of our profit every year. And that fund is to support people that are affected by workplace incidents and fatalities, and actually give something back to people that are affected by health and safety incidents in the workplace. So we want to go down that road as well. There's all sorts we want to do. We just have to see what life presents, really. Is what it is.
Perfect. And then let me give you a big plug. So Paul's company website is?
How many? I've got loads.
Do the main one.
www.hseglobalseries.com or www.hse-network.com.
And we will put the links in the bio as well. And where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, so it's I'm on LinkedIn, so it'd just be Paul Clark, or if you want to catch me on Facebook, because I use Facebook quite a lot, it's Paul Clark, in brackets Clarky.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
It's been lovely.